Seoul's deadliest Mafia king hasn't had an erection in 3 years. Poison destroyed his body, no matter how curvy the woman, how skilled her touch, how desperately he wanted to feel something. Nothing. Dead below the belt. No air, no manhood, no hope. Until Adaize, a beautiful Nigerian nurse, accidentally brushes his wrist while checking his blood pressure, and his manhood stands at attention, like a soldier recognizing its commander. Violent, immediate, undeniable. For 3 years he was dead. One touch from her and he's alive, aching, and absolutely obsessed. She thinks she just took his vitals. He knows she just woke a beast that only she can satisfy. And his enemies know she's the weakness that will destroy them both. The bullet shattered the champagne glass in Kang Ji-hoon's hand. Crystal exploded across the marble floor of his penthouse as 3 more shots pierced the night. He didn't flinch. The most feared Mafia king in Seoul simply watched the red dot of a sniper's laser dance across his chest before it vanished into the darkness beyond his floor-to-ceiling windows. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Happy 35th birthday, cousin. This was just a warning. Min Seo, always Min Seo. Ji-hoon's second in command, Sung Min, burst through the door, gun drawn. Boss, are you fine?" Ji-hoon's voice was ice. He didn't feel the fear that should have accompanied a near-death experience. He didn't feel anything. He hadn't felt anything in 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days. Not since the poison. The doctors had been blunt. The toxin had destroyed his body's ability to produce certain hormones. No desire, no physical response, no future heir. His enemies whispered he wasn't a man anymore, just a walking corpse in an expensive suit. They weren't entirely wrong. The elders called again. Sung-min said carefully, "They're demanding you name a successor. They say if you can't produce an heir, Min Seo inherits everything." Ji-hoon finished the sentence, his jaw tight. "I know what they want." What no one knew was that Ji-hoon had stopped caring about the empire months ago. When you couldn't feel, what was the point of power? But he couldn't let Min Seo win. The same cousin who'd probably orchestrated the poisoning in the first place. Sung-min hesitated. "There's one more thing. Your housekeeper, Mrs. Park, she's in the hospital. Pneumonia. The agency is sending a replacement nurse tomorrow." Ji-hoon waved him off, already turning back to the window. Another person in his space, another face that would blur into the background of his grey existence. He had no idea that tomorrow, everything would change. Across the city, in a cramped apartment in Itaewon, Adeze Okonkwo stared at her phone screen, reading the same message for the 10th time. "Laurent is getting married. Thought you should know. Marie, her former best friend. Her ex-fiancé. Of course they'd ended up together. Adeze, Ada to everyone who knew her, set the phone down with hands that didn't shake. She wouldn't give them that power. Not anymore. It had been 8 months since Laurent had texted her 2 hours before their Paris wedding. "I can't marry a woman who puts her career before love. You chose nursing over us." What he'd really meant, "I can't marry a woman who won't give up her dreams to follow mine." So she'd taken her mother's maiden name, Okonkwo, bought a ticket to Seoul, her late mother's birthplace, and started over. No love, no men, no more breaking herself into smaller pieces to fit someone else's vision. Her phone buzzed with a new notification from the nursing agency. High priority assignment, wealthy client, private care, pay W50 million per month. Ada's eyes widened. That was 6 months of her current salary, but the next line made her hesitate. Client name, Kang Ji-hoon. She'd heard that name in whispers at the hospital. Kang Ji-hoon, the Ice King, the man who supposedly controlled half of Seoul's underground from his glass tower in Gangnam. Her finger hovered over the decline button. Then she thought of Laurent's wedding, of starting over, of proving she could stand on her own. She hit accept. The next morning, Ada stood outside the most intimidating building she'd ever seen. All black glass and steel, it pierced the Seoul skyline like a dagger. Security cameras tracked her every movement as she approached. A man in a dark suit, too muscular to be just a driver, met her at the entrance. "Miss Okonkwo, follow me." The elevator ride to the penthouse took 47 seconds. Ada counted each one, using the old nursing trick to calm her racing heart. The doors opened onto a sprawling space that looked more like a museum than a home. Everything was white, black, or grey. No colour, no warmth, no life. "He's in the office," the man, Sung-min, he'd said, gestured down a hallway. "Fair warning, he doesn't like small talk." Ada straightened her navy scrubs and knocked. "Come in." The voice was cold, clipped. She pushed open the door and froze. Kang Ji-hoon sat behind a massive desk, backlit by the Seoul skyline. He was younger than she'd expected, mid-30s, maybe, and devastatingly handsome in a way that felt dangerous. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that seemed to look through rather than at people, black hair pushed back carelessly. He wore a white shirt, with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms marked with scars that told stories she probably didn't want to know, but it was his expression that caught her, empty, like someone had carved out everything human and left only the shell. "You're the nurse." Not a question. He didn't even look up from his papers. Something in Ada bristled. She'd dealt with arrogant doctors, demanding patience, and one cowardly ex-fiancé. She wasn't about to be dismissed by another man who thought the world revolved around him. "And you're the patient," she replied coolly. "Shall we begin? Or would you prefer to continue ignoring me?" His pen stopped moving. Slowly, Ji-hoon raised his eyes to meet hers. The air shifted. For 5 long seconds, they stared at each other. Ada refused to look away first, even as something in his gaze made her pulse quicken. There was a flicker of something, surprise, interest, before the ice returned. "Mrs. Park keeps her medical supplies in the kitchen," he said flatly. "I assume you can take blood pressure without instruction. I have a degree from one of Paris's top nursing schools, so yes, I think I can manage." Ada kept her voice professional, but her eyes flashed. "Shall we start with your vitals? Or would you like to insult my competence a bit more first?" Sung-min, who'd been standing by the door, coughed to cover what might have been a laugh. Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. "Fine." Ada pulled out her equipment with practiced efficiency, trying to ignore how the room suddenly felt smaller. She approached his desk, her heart beating faster than it should. "Professional, this is just another patient. Your arm, please." Ji-hoon extended his right arm, still watching her with that unnerving intensity. Ada wrapped the blood pressure cuff around his bicep, noting the muscle tone of someone who clearly didn't skip workouts, and then reached for his wrist to check his pulse. Her fingers touched his skin. The world exploded. Ji-hoon actually gasped, and jerked his arm back so violently that the blood pressure cuff flew off, clattering to the floor. His chair scraped backward. His eyes went wide, face suddenly pale, chest heaving like he'd just run a marathon. But that wasn't what made Ada freeze in shock. It was the way he was staring at her now. Not cold, not empty, terrified. And something else, something heated and desperate and completely uncontrolled. "What?" His voice cracked. He pressed a hand to his chest, breathing hard. "What did you do?" "I just checked your pulse," Ada said, confused and alarmed. "Are you okay? Should I call a doctor?" "No." The word came out harsh. Ji-hoon stood abruptly, putting the desk between them like a barrier. His hands were shaking, actually shaking. No doctors. Sung-min stepped forward, concerned. Boss, get out. Ji-hoon's voice was raw, desperate. Both of you, now. Ada grabbed her medical bag, thrown completely off balance. Mr. Kang, if you're having a medical emergency, get out. The command was final. Sung-min gently guided Ada toward the door. She glanced back once and saw Ji-hoon gripping the edge of his desk, head bowed, shoulders heaving with breaths that looked painful. What just happened? The door closed behind them. In the hallway, Sung-min rubbed his face. I've never seen him react like that. Is he sick? Does he have a condition I should know about? Ada's nursing instincts warred with her confusion. It's complicated. Sung-min studied her carefully. Can you come back tomorrow? After he just threw me out? I don't think. WW 70 million per month. Ada's mouth snapped shut. He needs a nurse. Sung-min continued. And clearly, something about you affects him. In 3 years, I haven't seen him react to anything. You made him feel something. That's worth every one. Inside the office, Ji-hoon had collapsed into his chair, his entire body on fire in a way he'd thought was impossible. The moment her fingers touched his wrist, it was like someone had thrown a switch. Heat, desire, feeling, and pain. God, the pain of sudden arousal after 3 years of nothing was almost unbearable, but worse than the physical response was the emotional avalanche. When she'd looked at him with those challenging eyes, dark brown and full of life, he'd felt his chest constrict with something that wasn't ice. Want, need, fear. He looked down. His body had betrayed him completely, responding to a woman's touch for the first time since the poison. No, not just responding, overwhelming him. His hands were still shaking. What the hell just happened? He whispered to the empty room. The door burst open. Sung-min, alone this time. Boss, we need to talk about the nurse. She's fired. You can't fire her. You need to hire her permanently. Ji-hoon's head snapped up. Are you insane? You felt something. Sung-min's voice was urgent. For the first time in 3 years, you actually felt something. Do you understand what that means? It means she's dangerous, or she's the answer. Sung-min leaned forward. The elders want an heir. Min Seo is circling like a vulture. You've been slowly giving up, boss. I've watched it happen. But that woman, whatever just happened, she made you react. She made you feel. If there's even a chance... Stop. Ji-hoon's voice was sharp, but his mind was racing. An heir, the empire. His body suddenly, impossibly alive, because of her. He picked up his phone, dialed the nursing agency. The nurse who came this morning, Adeyeze Okonkwo. I want her as my permanent private nurse. Sir, she's only... I'll pay W100 million per month. She starts tomorrow at 8 a.m. Non-negotiable. He ended the call and looked at Sung-min. But she stays at arm's length, professional only. I need to understand what's happening before... His phone buzzed. Another message from Min Seo. Heard you had an interesting morning. The Ice King finally melted. Pity it won't matter. You have 3 months to produce an heir or the elders vote. Sleep well, cousin. Ji-hoon's jaw clenched. 3 months, and the only woman who'd made him feel anything in 3 years had just walked out of his life. No, not anymore. Ada's phone rang at 6 a.m. Miss Okonkwo, your client has requested you as his permanent nurse, W100 million per month. He wants you there by 8 a.m. today. Ada sat up in bed, her mind spinning. 100 million won. That was, she quickly calculated, almost $75,000 USD per month for one patient. What's the catch? No catch. He was very insistent. Your first month is paid in advance, already in your account. After the call ended, Ada checked her banking app. The money was there. Real. She should say no. Something about yesterday felt dangerous, not physically, but in a way she couldn't name. The way Ji-hoon had looked at her in that last moment, like she was something terrifying and essential all at once. But W100 million per month meant freedom, meant never depending on anyone again, meant proving Laurent wrong about everything. She texted back, I accept. Professional boundaries only. The response was immediate. Agreed. If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. For the next 2 weeks, Ada and Ji-hoon engaged in the strangest dance of her life. Every morning at 8 a.m. she arrived at the penthouse. Every morning Ji-hoon was already awake, dressed impeccably, sitting at his desk or standing by the windows like a statue, and every time she touched him, checking his blood pressure, his pulse, his temperature, the same thing happened. His breath would catch, his jaw would clench, his eyes would go dark with something that made her stomach flip. Then he'd pull away, retreat behind his desk or into another room, leaving her confused and increasingly frustrated. Your blood pressure is elevated again, she noted on day 5, unwrapping the cuff from his arm. Her fingers brushed his wrist, just a whisper of contact, and she felt him go rigid. It's fine, he said tersely, already pulling away. It's 145/95. That's not fine. Are you under stress? His laugh was bitter. You could say that. Ada set down her equipment, studying him. In 2 weeks, she'd learned a few things about Kang Ji-hoon. He took his coffee black, no sugar. He worked 18-hour days. He never raised his voice, but when he spoke, people scrambled to obey. He had nightmares. She'd heard him once through the walls, a sound of pain so raw it had made her chest ache, and he was terrified of her touch. Mr. Kang, she said carefully, I can't help you if you won't tell me what's wrong. Are you in pain? Do certain touches cause discomfort? The opposite. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Ada blinked. What? Ji-hoon's eyes met hers, and for one unguarded moment, she saw past the ice, saw longing and confusion and something desperate. Nothing. Forget I said anything. He stood abruptly. I have a meeting. But as he walked past her towards the door, Ada's instincts, both as a nurse and as a woman, kicked in. She reached out, placing a hand gently on his arm. Wait! The effect was instantaneous. Ji-hoon's entire body went taut. His eyes closed, and he drew in a sharp breath through his teeth. When his eyes opened again, they were burning. Don't, he whispered hoarsely. Please don't touch me unless you have to. Why? Ada didn't remove her hand. What happens when I touch you? Everything. The word was barely audible. I feel everything, and I haven't felt anything in 3 years. Do you understand? He stopped, seeming to wage an internal battle. You're breaking me. Ada's heart stuttered. She pulled her hand back, and Ji-hoon immediately put distance between them, his breathing uneven. I was poisoned, he said finally, his back to her. 3 years ago. It destroyed my body's hormone production, made me incapable of desire, of physical response. The doctors said it was permanent. He turned, his expression stark. And then you walked in, and just by touching my wrist, He stopped, jaw working. Understanding crashed over Ada like a wave. I make you feel again. Yes. The confession seemed to cost him, and I don't know if that's a gift or a curse. The air between them crackled with tension. Ada's mind raced through medical possibilities, psychosomatic response, pheromones, coincidence, but her body was reacting to something else entirely. The way he was looking at her now, without the ice, with pure, unfiltered hunger and vulnerability. "We should maintain professional boundaries," she said. But her voice wasn't quite steady. Agreed. His voice was equally unsteady. Neither of them moved. The moment was shattered by Sungmin's voice from the hallway. "Boss, the meeting with the Japanese syndicate starts in 10 minutes. Ji-hoon straightened, and just like that, the ice was back. "We'll discuss this later." But as he left, Ada noticed his hands were still shaking. That night, Ada lay in her apartment, staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying Ji-hoon's confession. "You're breaking me. She should quit." This was clearly more than a professional relationship could handle, but something kept her from reaching for her phone. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the way his vulnerability had made her chest ache. Maybe it was the challenge in his eyes that reminded her she was stronger than she'd been in Paris. Or maybe it was the fact that when he'd looked at her earlier, she'd felt something she swore she'd never feel again. Desire. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Ji-hoon. I'm sorry for what I said today. You're an excellent nurse. I hope you'll stay." She stared at the message, formal, distant, everything the man in the office hadn't been. She typed back, "I'll stay, but we need to discuss what's happening, medically speaking." His response, "Tomorrow, after your rounds." What Ada didn't know was that across the city, in a luxury apartment in Apgujeong, Min Seo was looking at surveillance photos of her entering Ji-hoon's building every morning. "Who is she?" he asked his intelligence officer, Adaeze Okonkwo, Nigerian Korean, nurse, started working for Ji-hoon 2 weeks ago. Min Seo smiled slowly, and my cousin, the Ice King who hasn't looked at a woman in 3 years, suddenly hires a beautiful nurse who visits every single day. Interesting. What do you want me to do? Nothing. Yet. But keep watching. If Ji-hoon has found a weakness, I want to know exactly how to exploit it. On day 16, everything changed. Ada arrived at 8 a.m. as usual, but Sungmin intercepted her at the door, looking grim. He's in bad shape today. What happened? Didn't sleep. Refused food and... Sungmin lowered his voice. He's having some kind of reaction. Physical. It's been going on for hours. He's in pain. Ada's nurse instincts kicked in immediately. Where is he? His bedroom. But he said not to... Ada was already moving down the hallway. She knocked once on the bedroom door. Mr. Kang, it's Ada. I'm coming in. Don't... His voice was strained. She pushed open the door. Ji-hoon was standing by the window, one hand braced against the glass, his shirt soaked with sweat. Even from across the room, she could see his whole body trembling. You need to leave, he gritted out, not looking at her. Not until I know you're okay. Ada set down her bag, approaching carefully. Tell me what's happening. It's been worse since yesterday, since I told you, like my body remembered what it's been missing and now it won't stop. He broke off with a harsh breath. Every time I think about you touching me, it's like a dam breaking after 3 years. Ada finished quietly. She was close enough now to see the pain etched on his face. Ji-hoon, this is a medical issue. Your body is trying to recalibrate after prolonged hormone suppression. The sudden stimulation is torture. He finally looked at her, and the raw need in his eyes made her breath catch. Do you know what it's like? To be dead inside for years and then suddenly feel everything. It's not romantic, it's agony. Without thinking, Ada reached out, placing her palm flat against his chest. His heart was racing. Ji-hoon made a sound low in his throat, his eyes closing. Ada! I'm trying to help, she whispered. But her own heart was pounding now. This wasn't professional. This was something else entirely. Then stop touching me, he said roughly, because I'm about 5 seconds away from doing something we'll both regret. She should pull away, should step back, should remember every promise she'd made to herself about never letting a man have power over her again. Instead, she asked, "What if we don't regret it?" His eyes snapped open, dark and burning. "What?" I said, but she didn't get to finish. Ji-hoon closed the distance between them in one step, his hand sliding into her hair, and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was 3 years of starvation, of loneliness, of believing he'd never feel this again. He kissed her like she was oxygen, and he'd been drowning, his other arm wrapping around her waist, pulling her against him with a desperation that should have scared her. Instead, Ada melted into it. She kissed him back, her hands fisting in his sweat-soaked shirt, matching his intensity. This was insane. This was wrong. This was perfect. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ji-hoon pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. If you apologize, I'll leave right now." Ada interrupted, "And I don't want to leave." His arms tightened around her. "I don't want you to either. But Ada, you need to understand what you're getting into. My world is dangerous. My cousin is trying to take everything from me. There are people who'd hurt you just to hurt me. And His voice cracked. "I don't know if I can be what you need. 3 years of not feeling, not wanting, not being able to. I don't even know if I'm still a man in all the ways that matter." Ada pulled back enough to look him in the eyes. "Let me tell you what I see. I see a man who's surviving impossible circumstances, who leads an empire despite being in pain every day, who's terrified of his own feelings, but brave enough to admit them anyway." She touched his face gently. "That's more of a man than the one who left me at the altar, because I wouldn't make myself smaller for him." "Someone left you?" Ji-hoon's expression darkened. "Who?" "Someone who doesn't matter anymore." Ada smiled slightly, and, for the record, whatever happens between us, if anything happens, we figure it out together. No expectations, no pressure, just honesty. Ji-hoon searched her face, then slowly lowered his lips to hers again. This kiss was different, softer, exploring. When his hands started to shake, she covered them with her own. "I've got you," she murmured against his mouth. "That's supposed to be my line. Then we'll take turns. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button because this story is about to get wild." For the next week, they existed in a strange bubble. Ada came every morning, ostensibly for medical checks. But the touches lingered, the conversations deepened. They learned each other slowly. Her love of old Nollywood movies, his secret, appreciation for jazz, the way they both felt like outsiders in Seoul. "Tell me about Paris," Ji-hoon said one evening. They were sitting on his balcony, the city sparkling below them. He'd asked her to stay for dinner, and somehow midnight had arrived. Ada was quiet for a moment. I was young, 23. Laurent was a doctor, charming, successful, everything I thought I wanted. When he proposed, I said yes immediately. She stared at her wine glass. But he wanted a wife who'd host dinner parties and give up night shifts. When I refused, he started making little comments. "You care more about strangers than me. If you loved me, you'd make time." I started believing him, started making myself smaller. Ji-hoon's hand found hers, and then he texted me 2 hours before our wedding. "I can't marry someone who won't put me first." Just like that, 3 years, gone in a text message. She laughed bitterly. The worst part, I felt relieved. That's when I knew I'd lost myself trying to be what he wanted. "He was a fool," Ji-hoon said quietly. "Any man who asks you to be less than you are doesn't deserve you." Ada looked at him, at this dangerous, powerful man who somehow made her feel seen in a way Laurent never had. What about you? Has there ever been someone? Ji-hoon's expression shuttered slightly. Before the poison, there were women, but nothing real. In my world, relationships are transactions, alliances. Then after, he stopped. After, there was nothing. I convinced myself I didn't care, but I think I was just afraid of feeling broken. You're not broken, Ada said firmly. No? He gave her a wry smile. My body didn't work for 3 years, Ada. My own men questioned whether I was still fit to lead. The elders are waiting for me to fail. Min Seo is probably planning my funeral as we speak, and the only reason I can feel anything at all is because of some mysterious connection to a woman I met 3 weeks ago. That's not broken. That's surviving. Ada shifted closer. Broken would be giving up. You didn't. Ji-hoon looked at her for a long moment, then pulled her into his arms. She went willingly, resting her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I want to tell you something, he murmured into her hair, but I'm afraid it's too soon. Too much. Tell me anyway. Since the day you walked into my office, I haven't felt cold. Not once. You didn't just wake up my body, Ada. You woke up everything. He pulled back to look at her, and it terrifies me because I don't know how to protect you from my world. But I also can't imagine letting you go. Ada's breath caught. This was too fast, too intense, everything she'd sworn she wouldn't do again. But when Ji-hoon kissed her, slow and deep and reverent, she stopped thinking about what she should do and just felt. They didn't sleep together that night. Ada had been clear. She needed time to be sure this was real, not just his body's response to being able to feel again. Ji-hoon had agreed without hesitation, content just to hold her on the couch as she dozed against his shoulder. At 3 a.m, his phone buzzed with a message that made his blood run cold. Cute nurse. Be a shame if something happened to her. Tick-tock, cousin. 3 months is almost up. MS. Attached was a photo of Ada entering his building that morning. Ji-hoon's arms tightened around her sleeping form. Min Seo knew, and if Min Seo knew, Ada was in danger. He should send her away, for her own safety. But the thought of losing her made his chest constrict with an almost physical pain. Before he could decide, Ada stirred, blinking up at him sleepily. What time is it? Late. I should take you home. She studied his face. What's wrong? Nothing. He stopped. Honesty. They'd promised honesty. My cousin knows about you. That puts you at risk. Ada sat up slowly. How much risk? Enough that I should tell you to quit, to disappear, to forget you ever met me. His voice was rough, but I'm too selfish to do it. Good. Ada's voice was firm. Because I'm not going anywhere. Ada? No, listen to me. She turned to face him fully. I spent 3 years making myself smaller for a man who didn't deserve it. I'm not running from another man who's actually worth the risk. Your world is dangerous. Fine, we'll be careful. Your cousin is threatening me? We'll handle it. Together. Ji-hoon stared at her, something fierce and protective rising in his chest. You're insane. Probably. She smiled. But so are you for falling for your nurse. I haven't. He stopped at her raised eyebrow. Fine. Yes, I'm falling for you. Happy? Getting there. She kissed him softly. Now, take me home before I do something we both want, but I'm not quite ready for. As Ji-hoon drove her home through Seoul's empty streets, neither of them noticed the black sedan following 3 cars back. The next morning, Ada arrived to find Sung-min blocking the entrance to the penthouse. He's not here, Sung-min said tightly. Where is he? Emergency meeting with the elders. Min Seo called a vote. They're deciding right now whether Ji-hoon remains head of the family or if leadership passes to Min Seo. Ada's stomach dropped. What? Why now? Because Min Seo knows Ji-hoon is distracted, vulnerable, and in our world, that's enough. Sung-min's expression was grim. If they vote against him, it's not just about losing power. There are people who'd rather see Ji-hoon dead than diminished. I need to see him. You can't. The meeting is at the family compound. No outsiders. Ada's mind raced. Then tell me where it is. Miss Okonkwo. He's there fighting for his life, and I'm the reason he's vulnerable. Tell me where he is. Sung-min studied her for a long moment, then sighed. You really care about him. Yes. Now tell me. 20 minutes later, Ada was in a taxi heading to an address in Pyeongchang-dong, her heart pounding. She had no plan, no idea what she'd do when she got there. She just knew she couldn't let Ji-hoon face this alone. Inside the Kang family compound, Ji-hoon stood before a council of 12 elders, his cousin Min Seo smirking from the side. 3 years, Elder Park said gravely, and still no heir, no marriage prospects, no future for our family. Min Seo has presented compelling arguments that leadership should pass to him. With respect, Elder Park, Min Seo poisoned me. Ji-hoon's voice was cold and clear. He's been systematically undermining me because he knew he couldn't beat me fairly. Prove it, Min Seo challenged. You have no evidence, just paranoia and excuses for your own failings. I don't need to prove what everyone in this room already knows. Ji-hoon looked at each elder in turn. But let's discuss the real issue. You don't care about heirs. You care about strength, about leadership. So let me be clear. I built this syndicate into what it is today. I've expanded into 6 new territories in the past 5 years. Our profits have tripled. Our enemies fear us. And you want to hand all of that to Min Seo because I haven't produced a child. The family line, Elder Kim began, will be secured, Ji-hoon interrupted, but on my terms, not because you're too impatient to wait. Wait for what? Min Seo sneered. You're impotent, cousin. Everyone knows it. How exactly do you plan to produce an heir when you can't even... The door burst open. Ada stood there, breathing hard from running, completely out of place in her nurse's scrubs among the suited men and formal hanbok dresses. Sorry to interrupt, she said, not sounding sorry at all, but I have medical information relevant to this discussion. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Ji-hoon's eyes widened. Ada, what are you... Mr. Kang is not impotent, Ada announced, looking directly at the elders. His condition was temporary, caused by poisoning, and has been reversing over the past month. I can provide medical documentation if needed. The silence was deafening. Min Seo recovered first. And who are you to make such claims? Adeze Okonkwo, Mr. Kang's private nurse. Ada walked further into the room, her chin high despite the hostile stares. I've been monitoring his recovery daily. His hormone levels are stabilizing, his physical responses are normal. There is no medical reason he cannot produce an heir. Elder Park looked between Ada and Ji-hoon. Is this true? Ji-hoon's jaw was tight. He was furious that Ada had put herself in danger by coming here, but he was also, God help him, touched that she would. Yes, he said finally. Miss Okonkwo has been essential to my recovery. How convenient, Min Seo drawled. A mysterious nurse appears, and suddenly all of Cousin's problems are solved. Tell me, Miss Okonkwo, what exactly is the nature of your relationship with Ji-hoon? That's none of your concern. Ji-hoon's voice was dangerous. Oh, but it is. If you're asking us to believe this woman's medical opinion, we deserve to know if she's biased. Are you sleeping with her cousin? The question hung in the air like a blade. Ji-hoon stepped forward, his presence radiating threat. Choose your next words carefully, Min Seo. Gentlemen. Elder Park interrupted. This is hardly... I'll answer. Ada said quietly. She looked directly at Ji-hoon, and what passed between them made the air crackle. No, we're not sleeping together. But yes, there are feelings involved. That doesn't change the medical facts. Mr. Kang's recovery is documented and real. Feelings? Min Seo laughed. How touching. The Ice King melted by a foreign nurse. What a story. Enough. Elder Park's voice cut through the tension. We will take Miss Okonkwo's testimony into consideration. But Ji-hoon, the fact remains, you have 3 months to prove you can secure the family line. If you cannot produce a marriage contract or an heir by then, we vote again. Understood? Understood, Ji-hoon gritted out. This meeting is adjourned. As the elders filed out, Min Seo paused next to Ada, his smile cold. You've made a powerful enemy today, Miss Okonkwo. I hope the Ice King is worth it. He is. Ada replied without hesitation. Once they were alone, Ji-hoon turned to her and she couldn't read his expression. Anger? Gratitude? Both. That was incredibly foolish, he said finally. Probably. You put yourself in Min Seo's crosshairs. I noticed. He could hurt you, Ada. Seriously hurt you. I know. She stepped closer. But you were here alone, and I couldn't... Her voice wavered. I couldn't let them destroy you without fighting back. Something in Ji-hoon's expression cracked. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. You're going to be the death of me. Not if I can help it. Ada pulled back to look at him. 3 months. That's what they gave you. To produce a marriage contract or an heir. Yes. That's insane pressure. It's the world I live in. Ji-hoon touched her face gently. But I won't let them force me into anything, and I definitely won't use you as a pawn to satisfy the elders. What if I want to be used? The words were out before Ada could stop them. Ji-hoon's eyes darkened. Ada, I'm not saying we should get married tomorrow, but we could date, publicly, show the elders you have prospects, buy you time. That would make you an even bigger target. I'm already a target, at least this way. I'm a target who's helping. Ji-hoon searched her face. Why are you doing this? Because, Ada said softly, somewhere between checking your blood pressure and watching you try so hard to feel again, I started falling for you. And I don't do anything halfway. The kiss was inevitable. Ji-hoon framed her face with his hands, kissing her with a tenderness that made her chest ache. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling too, he whispered. So hard it scares me. Good. We'll be scared together. What neither of them knew was that Min Seo was in the next room, listening to every word through the security system he'd secretly had installed years ago, and he was smiling. Drop a comment below. Do you think Ada made the right choice? Let me know. The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind. Ji-hoon introduced Ada to his world gradually. Dinners at exclusive restaurants where everyone whispered about the Ice King's mysterious companion. Gallery openings where she wore dresses he'd had custom made, because if you're going to be seen with me, you should look like the queen you are. Charity galas where business partners eyed her speculatively, trying to calculate her importance. Ada handled it all with a grace that stunned Ji-hoon. She was charming but not simpering, confident but not arrogant. She asked intelligent questions about his business, the legal parts at least, and made the wives of his associates actually like her, which was a feat in itself. You're a natural, Sung-min observed one night after a particularly successful dinner with Japanese investors. I'm terrified, Ada admitted, but I won't let him see it. He knows. He just appreciates that you're trying. What Ada didn't tell anyone was that she was also receiving messages, anonymous at first, then increasingly direct. He'll get you killed. You're nothing but a distraction. Leave while you still can. She deleted them without responding, but they were piling up, getting more frequent, more threatening. On the 24th day of their public relationship, everything fell apart. Ada arrived at the penthouse to find it in chaos. Sungmin was on 3 phones at once. Other men in suits rushed around with grim expressions, and Ji-hoon stood by the windows, staring out at Seoul with his hands clenched into fists. What happened? Ada asked. Ji-hoon didn't turn. Someone leaked false information to our Japanese partners, made it look like I was planning to betray them. They've pulled out of a $50 billion deal and a threatening war. Who would do that? Min Seo. Had to be. Ji-hoon's voice was cold fury. He's trying to prove I'm unfit to lead by sabotaging my business. Ada approached slowly. What do you need? Time to fix this, which I don't have. He finally turned, and the exhaustion in his eyes made her chest ache. And now, the elders are calling an emergency meeting. If I can't resolve this by tomorrow, they'll vote Min Seo in immediately. Then we fix it tonight. Ada, you have contacts, right? People who owe you favors. Call them, all of them. Find out exactly what information was leaked and prove it's false. For the first time that day, Ji-hoon smiled slightly. When did you become a strategist? When I fell for one. She pulled out her phone. Now tell me who to call. They worked through the night. Ada coordinated with Sungmin, making calls, organizing documents, even sweet-talking a particularly difficult contact who responded better to her than to Ji-hoon's threats. By 6 a.m., they had proof. Min Seo had fabricated emails using a forged account. They had the IP address, timestamps, everything. It's enough, Sungmin confirmed. The Japanese will see through it. Ji-hoon pulled Ada into his office, away from the chaos. She looked exhausted, still in yesterday's clothes, her hair coming loose from its bun. You should be sleeping, he murmured, tucking a strand behind her ear. So should you. Ada, about last night. Thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have, but you didn't have to. She smiled tiredly. That's what partners do. Partners? Ji-hoon tested the word. Is that what we are, aren't we? Instead of answering, he kissed her, slow and deep and full of things he didn't have words for yet. When they broke apart, Ada was breathless. I need to tell you something, Ji-hoon said. Something I probably should have said weeks ago. What? I love you. The words were simple, stark. I didn't think I could. 3 years of nothing, and then you, and now I can't imagine a single day without you in it. I love you, Ada, and it terrifies me because everyone I've ever cared about ends up hurt. Ada's eyes filled with tears. I love you too. Even though you're infuriating and overprotective and live in the most dangerous world imaginable, I love you. The kiss that followed was different from all the others. It was a promise, a claim, a beginning. Stay with me today, Ji-hoon murmured against her lips. I have to face the elders this afternoon and I need to know you're here. I'm not going anywhere. But at 10 a.m., everything changed again. Ada was in Ji-hoon's bedroom, trying to rest before the afternoon meeting, when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Okonkwo. The voice was smooth, cultured, and made her blood run cold. This is Min Seo. We haven't been formally introduced. Ada sat up straight. What do you want? To offer you a deal. $500 million won, transferred today, if you leave Seoul and never contact my cousin again. Not interested. I thought you might say that, so let me offer an alternative. His voice turned cold. I have information about you, Miss Okonkwo, about your time in Paris, about Laurent Dubois, about the real reason your wedding was cancelled. Ada's heart stopped. What are you talking about? Laurent didn't leave you because you chose your career. He left because he discovered your mother's family history, the mental illness, the suicides, the medical conditions that run in your bloodline. Min Seo paused. Conditions that can be passed to children. That's none of your business, Ada said, but her voice shook. It becomes my business when you're trying to produce an heir for my family. Did you tell Ji-hoon? Does he know that any child you have together could inherit your mother's schizophrenia, her bipolar disorder, or did you conveniently forget to mention that? Ada couldn't breathe. Her mother had suffered from severe mental illness, eventually taking her own life when Ada was 16. Ada had been tested. She didn't carry the genetic markers, but the fear had haunted her relationship with Laurent. When he'd found out about her mother's history, he'd suddenly decided Ada wasn't suitable for marriage. She'd never told Ji-hoon. There hadn't been time. They'd been so focused on his recovery, on the elders' demands, on just surviving day to day. I'll give you 24 hours, Min Seo continued. Take the money and leave, or I tell the elders everything, and trust me, they won't accept a woman with your family history as potential mother to the Kang heir. You'll destroy Ji-hoon's last chance at keeping his position. The call ended. Ada sat frozen, the phone slipping from her hand. She should tell Ji-hoon immediately, should explain everything, but the afternoon meeting was in 3 hours, and he was already stressed to his breaking point. If she added this now, if the elders found out, she made a decision she'd regret for the rest of her life. At 2 p.m, Ada left the penthouse while Ji-hoon was in the shower preparing for the meeting. She left a note on his desk. Something urgent came up. I'll explain everything tonight. I love you. A. Then she went to meet Min Seo. Ji-hoon found the note at 2:15 p.m, just as his car was pulling up to take him to the family compound. Something about it felt wrong. Ada wouldn't leave today of all days unless his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number with an attached photo. Ada, getting into a black car. With Min Seo, the caption, "Looks like your girlfriend chose the winning side. How much did she cost you, cousin?" Ji-hoon's world tilted. No, she wouldn't. She couldn't. But the evidence was right there, and Min Seo's next message drove the knife deeper. W500 million! That's what I paid her to disappear. Turns out everyone has a price, even your precious nurse. The meeting was a disaster. Ji-hoon could barely focus. His proof about the leaked emails was solid, and the Japanese partners agreed to reinstate the deal. But when Elder Park asked, "And what about your personal situation?" the heir question, Ji-hoon had no answer. "The woman you brought before us," Elder Kim said. "Miss Okonkwo, where is she today?" Ji-hoon's voice was hollow. "She's no longer part of the picture." The elders exchanged glances. "Then we vote," Elder Park announced, all in favour of transferring leadership to Min Seo. "Wait!" Ji-hoon stood, his mind racing. He couldn't let Min Seo win. Not like this. "I need 3 more months." "You've had 3 years. 3 months," Ji-hoon repeated, his voice carrying the full weight of his authority. "Give me 3 months to secure a marriage contract and prove my capability to lead. If I fail, I'll step down willingly. No contest." The elders deliberated. Finally, Elder Park nodded. 3 months. But this is your final extension, Ji-hoon. Don't waste it. As Ji-hoon left the compound, Sung Min caught up with him. "Boss, I traced Miss Okonkwo's phone. She's at the East Harbour, warehouse district." Ji-hoon's expression was stone. "Get the car." Ada stood in the empty warehouse, Min Seo circling her like a predator. "Smart girl," he said. I came to tell you to go to hell," Ada replied. "I'm not taking your money, and I'm not leaving Ji-hoon." "Really?" Min Seo smiled. Even knowing what I'll tell the elders about your family history, about the genetic risks? Tell them whatever you want. I'll tell Ji-hoon myself. How noble, but there's one thing you haven't considered. Min Seo pulled out his phone. I have more than just information about your mother. He showed her a video. Laurent, her ex-fiancé, sitting in what looked like an expensive Paris apartment. Laurent and I have been in contact for months, Min Seo explained. He was very helpful in providing details about you, including this. He played the video. Laurent's voice. Ada was obsessed with me. When I ended things, she became unstable, sent me hundreds of messages, showed up at my workplace. I had to get a restraining order. She's not mentally well, just like her mother. Ada's blood ran cold. That's a lie. He's lying. Is he? Because I have the evidence he provided. Fake messages, but very convincing. Witness statements from people I've paid. A complete narrative of you as an unstable woman who seduced my cousin as revenge against your ex. Min Seo's smile was vicious. By the time I'm done, no one will believe anything. You say, the elders will think you're crazy. Ji-hoon will think you manipulated him. You'll be destroyed. Why are you doing this? Ada's voice broke. I never did anything to you. You made my cousin weak, distracted, human. Min Seo's expression hardened. I need him out of the way, and you're the perfect tool to accomplish that. The warehouse door burst open. Ji-hoon stood there, backlit by the setting sun, Sung-min and 4 other men behind him. His face was a mask of cold fury. Get away from her, he said quietly. The tone that made men beg for mercy. Min Seo laughed. Ah, cousin, come to rescue the woman who sold you out for $500 million. Is that what you told him? Ada looked at Ji-hoon, desperate. I didn't take any money. I came here to confront him about your family's mental illness. Min Seo interrupted smoothly. The genetic disorders you've been hiding from Ji-hoon. The fact that any child you have together could be severely compromised. Ji-hoon's expression didn't change, but Ada saw the flicker of something in his eyes. Hurt. Doubt. Ji-hoon, she said, her voice shaking. Let me explain, please. Explain what? His voice was flat. That you've been lying about something this important, that you came here to meet my cousin behind my back. I came here because he threatened to destroy your chances with the elders if I didn't. He said, she's lying. Min Seo cut in. I have bank records showing a transfer to her account, messages where she agreed to leave you for a price. She's a con artist, Ji-hoon, just like I warned you. Stop it, Ada shouted. Everything he's saying is a lie. I love you. I would never love. Ji-hoon's laugh was bitter. You know what I think? I think my cousin is right. I think you saw an opportunity, a broken man, desperate to feel something, and you played me perfectly. How much did you really want? For you 500 million, it wasn't enough? The words hit Ada like physical blows. You don't mean that, don't I? Ji-hoon's eyes were ice again. The warmth, the vulnerability, everything she'd fallen in love with, gone. I was a fool to think someone like you could actually care about someone like me. Someone like me? Ada's hurt was morphing into anger now. What does that mean? It means you're a nurse from nowhere with nothing to offer except your ability to make me feel, and I mistook that for something real. Ji-hoon turned to Sung-min. Pay her whatever my cousin promised, then I never want to see her again. No, Ada said, tears streaming down her face. No, you don't get to do this. You told me you loved me. You said... I said a lot of things I shouldn't have. Ji-hoon's voice was final. Sung-min, get her out of here. Boss. Even Sung-min looked uncomfortable, now. As Sung-min gently guided Ada toward a car, she looked back at Ji-hoon one last time. He stood rigid, not watching her leave, his hands clenched at his sides. "I love you," she called out. "Even if you don't believe me, I love you, Ji-hoon." He didn't respond. Once they were gone, Min Seo clapped slowly. "Well done, cousin. I didn't think you had it in you to be that cruel." Ji-hoon turned to him, and Min Seo actually took a step back at the murder in his eyes. "If you ever," Ji-hoon said softly, "come near her again, I will end you, slowly, painfully, in ways that will make our ancestors weep. But I sent her away to protect her from you, because you've made it clear you'll destroy anyone I care about to get what you want." Ji-hoon stepped closer, his presence suffocating. "So, congratulations, you won, she's safe, and I'm alone, again. The elders can wait. I have 3 months, and I'll use every second to find a way to bury you." Ji-hoon walked out, leaving Min Seo standing in the warehouse, his victory suddenly tasting like ash, because he'd just realised something. Ji-hoon hadn't sent Ada away because he didn't believe her. He'd sent her away because he did, and a man with nothing left to lose was the most dangerous kind of enemy. Like and comment if you're still with me. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. For 2 weeks, Ada tried to go back to her normal life. She picked up shifts at a regular hospital, avoided the expensive parts of Seoul where she might run into Ji-hoon's world, deleted his contact information from her phone even though she'd memorized the number anyway. But every night, she cried herself to sleep, replaying that moment in the warehouse, the way Ji-hoon had looked at her, or rather, hadn't looked at her, like she was nothing. Her apartment felt suffocating. So did Seoul. Maybe it was time to leave Korea entirely, start over somewhere else. Again, she was researching flights to London when her door buzzed. She wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, she saw Sung-min. Her first instinct was to pretend she wasn't home. But Sung-min called through the door. "Miss Okonkwo, please, I need 5 minutes. It's about the boss." Against her better judgment, Ada opened the door. "If he sent you to pay me off, he doesn't know I'm here." Sung-min looked exhausted, and he'd probably fire me if he found out, but I can't watch him destroy himself anymore. "What are you talking about?" "He's gotten worse. After he sent you away, he's working 20-hour days, barely eating, making increasingly reckless decisions. Yesterday, he walked into a meeting with a rival gang alone, no backup, like he was daring them to kill him." Ada's chest tightened. "That's not my problem anymore." "Isn't it?" Sung-min's expression was imploring. "Miss Okonkwo, Ada, I've worked for Ji-hoon for 7 years. I've seen him cold, ruthless, feared by everyone, but these past weeks with you, I saw him happy, human. And that moment in the warehouse, he didn't send you away because he believed Min Seo's lies. He said, I know what he said, but I also know my boss. He sent you away because Min Seo was threatening to destroy you, to fabricate evidence of mental illness, instability, things that would ruin your career and your life. Ji-hoon was trying to protect you the only way he knew how." Ada sank onto her couch. "By breaking my heart, by breaking his own first." Sung-min sat across from her. "He thinks if he pushes you away, Min Seo will leave you alone. But it's killing him. And the worst part? It's not even working." "What do you mean?" Sung-min pulled out his phone, showing her a document. "Min Seo is still spreading rumours about you, telling the elders you're mentally unstable, that you manipulated Ji-hoon. He's making sure your name is mud in our world." Ada's hands clenched. "So Ji-hoon sacrificed our relationship for nothing?" "Essentially, yes." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Ada asked the question that had been tearing her apart. Does he ask about me?" Sung-min's expression softened. Every day. He pretends he doesn't, but I catch him staring at his phone. Once I saw him start to text you, then delete it. He's miserable, Ada. Just too proud and too scared to admit he made a mistake. Then he can stay miserable, Ada said. But there were tears in her eyes. I'm not chasing after a man who threw me away to satisfy his martyr complex. Fair enough. Sungmin stood. But for what it's worth, he really does love you. He's just an idiot about showing it. After Sungmin left, Ada sat alone in her apartment, her mind spinning. Part of her wanted to storm into Ji-hoon's penthouse and shake some sense into him. Part of her wanted to get on the next flight out of Korea and never look back. But a larger part, the part that had fallen for a broken man, who taught her what real love could look like, wanted to fight. Not for Ji-hoon, for herself. Because Min Seo had tried to destroy her reputation, her career, her future, and she wasn't going to let him win. She picked up her phone and made a call. Laurent? It's Ada. We need to talk. In his Paris apartment, Laurent Dubois nearly dropped his wine glass. Ada, I thought that you'd successfully helped a Korean gangster ruin my life. Yes, well, that's what we need to discuss. Ada's voice was steel. You're going to make a new video for me, one telling the truth about what really happened between us, and you're going to send it to me within 24 hours. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'll contact every hospital in Paris and tell them about the medical malpractice incident you covered up 3 years ago, the one where a patient died because you were drunk on duty. Silence. How do you... I've always known, Laurent. I just chose not to use it because I'm not cruel. But you came after me. You helped someone try to destroy me. So now... Ada's voice was calm, deadly. Now I'm done being nice. 24 hours. Or your career ends. She hung up before he could respond. Step 1, complete. Step 2, confront Min Seo. But for step 2, she'd need help. And she knew exactly who to ask. Ji-hoon was in a meeting with the Japanese investors when his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. The warehouse. Midnight. Come alone if you want the truth about Ada. A friend. He should ignore it. Probably a trap. But if there was even a chance to clear Ada's name, to prove Min Seo had lied, at 11:45 p.m., Ji-hoon arrived at the East Harbour warehouse alone. It was stupid and reckless, exactly the kind of thing Sungmin would yell at him for. The warehouse was dark, except for a single light in the centre. As Ji-hoon approached, a figure stepped into the light. Ada, his heart stopped. She was wearing jeans and a leather jacket, her hair pulled back, her expression unreadable. You came, she said. I shouldn't have. His voice came out rougher than he intended. Ada, what are you doing here, staging an intervention for an emotionally constipated Mafia king? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Seems like someone needs to. If this is about what happened, oh, it's definitely about what happened. The part where you decided to play hero and push me away without asking what I wanted. The part where you believed I'd actually take money to leave you. The part where you broke my heart to protect me. Ada stepped closer. Did it work? Do you feel better now that I'm safe? Ada. No, you don't get to Ada me. Not after what you said. Not after you looked at me like I was nothing. Her voice broke slightly. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Ji-hoon closed his eyes. I know. I'm sorry. I thought if I pushed you away hard enough, Min Seo would lose interest, that you'd be safe. I don't want to be safe, Ji-hoon. I want to be with you. There's a difference. My world will always be dangerous. So, teach me how to navigate it. Be honest with me. Trust me. Ada pulled something from her pocket. A flash drive. I spent the last 2 weeks gathering evidence. Laurent sent me a video confession about how Min Seo paid him to lie about me. I have bank records showing Min Seo faked the transfer to my account. I have recordings of him threatening me. Ji-hoon stared at the flash drive. You've been investigating my cousin? I've been clearing my name. There's a difference. Ada held out the drive. This is yours. Use it to destroy Min Seo, protect your position, and then what? Then decide if you're brave enough to actually fight for us, because I'm done being pushed away for my own good. Either you trust me to handle your world, or you let me go. But this time, it's your choice, not mine. Ji-hoon took the flash drive, but his eyes never left her face. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you love me anyway, and I love you, and that has to count for something. It counts for everything! Ji-hoon closed the distance between them, framing her face with his hands. I'm sorry for all of it. I was trying to protect you, but I was really just scared, Ada finished. I know, I'm scared too, but I'm tired of letting fear make my decisions. I love you, Ji-hoon said fiercely, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. You can start by kissing me. He did, hard and desperate and full of 2 weeks of misery and longing. Ada kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ji-hoon rested his forehead against hers. I missed you so much, it felt like dying. Good. You deserve to suffer a little. But Ada was smiling. Now, about Min Seo. Leave him to me. Actually, Ada's smile turned mischievous. I have a better idea. The next morning, the Kang family elders received an anonymous email with attachments, Laurent's video confession, bank records proving the fake transfer, recordings of Min Seo's threats, and a detailed timeline of his attempts to sabotage Ji-hoon. By noon, an emergency meeting had been called. Min Seo walked into the family compound, confident, ready to press his advantage. Ji-hoon was vulnerable, alone, spiraling. Victory was close. Instead, he found all 12 elders sitting in judgment, their expressions grim, and Ji-hoon standing beside them, holding a tablet. Hello, cousin, Ji-hoon said coldly. We need to talk about your recent activities. For the next hour, the elders reviewed the evidence. Min Seo tried to deny it, to spin new lies, but the proof was overwhelming. Finally, Elder Park spoke. Min Seo, you have brought shame upon this family. You have lied, manipulated, and attempted to destroy your own blood for personal gain. But uncle, You are hereby exiled from the Kang family. Your assets are seized. Your name is stricken from our records. And if you ever return to Seoul, Ji-hoon has our permission to deal with you as he sees fit. Min Seo's face went white. You can't. We can. And we have. Elder Park turned to Ji-hoon. As for you, you have proven your strength, your intelligence, and your loyalty to this family. The question of your leadership is settled. You remain head of the Kang Syndicate. Ji-hoon bowed respectfully. Thank you, Elder Park. But I have one more announcement. He pulled out his phone, made a call. You can come in now. The door opened. Ada walked in, head high, wearing a traditional Korean hanbok that Ji-hoon had commissioned for her. Deep blue silk embroidered with silver threads, she looked like royalty. The elders stared. This is Adese Okonkwo, Ji-hoon announced. The woman I intend to marry, the woman who will be the mother of my heirs, the woman who saved me when I thought I was beyond saving. Elder Kim frowned. She is not Korean. No, she's better. She's brave, intelligent, loyal, and strong enough to stand beside me in this world. Ji-hoon looked at Ada, his expression softening. And she's the only woman I will ever marry. The family traditions, Elder Park began. Will adapt, Ji-hoon interrupted smoothly, as they have for generations. My father married a Japanese woman. My grandfather married a Chinese woman. The Kang family has always been strengthened by bringing in strong women from different cultures. Ada is no different. Elder Park studied Ada carefully. Miss Okonkwo, do you understand what you're agreeing to? This life is not easy. You will be scrutinized, judged, potentially threatened. Can you handle that? Ada met his gaze steadily. Elder Park, I fell in love with your family's leader when he was broken and believed himself worthless. I faced down threats, lies, and exile to clear both our names. I have navigated your world for months now with grace and success. She smiled slightly. I think I can handle some scrutiny. A few of the elders actually smiled. Very well, Elder Park said finally. Ji-hoon, you have our blessing to marry, but we expect an engagement within the month and a wedding within 3. Understood? Understood. As they left the compound, Ada glanced at Ji-hoon. Did you really just announce our engagement without asking me first? Was I supposed to ask? Ji-hoon looked genuinely confused. Ada laughed. Yes, you idiot. That's how it traditionally works. Oh. Ji-hoon pulled the car over suddenly, turning to face her. Daisy Okonkwo, will you marry me? Will you be my partner, my equal, my reason for being? Will you let me spend every day for the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you? That depends, Ada said, trying not to smile. Where's my ring? Ji-hoon reached into his pocket and pulled out a black velvet box. Inside was a stunning diamond ring, a large centre stone surrounded by smaller ones, set in platinum. I bought it 3 weeks ago, he admitted, right after I sent you away. I knew I'd messed up the second you left. I've been carrying it around ever since, hoping I'd get a chance to... Ada kissed him, stopping the words. When she pulled back, she whispered, yes. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, and they sat in the car, foreheads pressed together, just breathing. I can't believe we survived all that, Ada murmured. We survived because of you, your courage, your refusal to give up. Ji-hoon kissed her softly. I love you. I love you too, even when you're being a dramatic martyr. I prefer strategically protective. I prefer drama queen. Ji-hoon laughed, actually laughed, full and genuine, and Ada's heart swelled. This was the man she'd fallen for, not the Ice King, not the Mafia boss, just Ji-hoon, finally allowing himself to be happy. If you've made it this far, drop a like and subscribe, because you're about to see how this love story truly ends. The wedding took place 2 months later, in a private garden estate outside Seoul. It was small by Mafia standards, only 200 guests, and a blend of Korean and Nigerian traditions that made both families weep. Ada wore a white wedding gown for the ceremony, then changed into traditional Nigerian attire for the reception. A stunning coral and gold outfit that made Ji-hoon forget how to breathe. You're staring, Ada whispered as they had their first dance. I'm memorizing, Ji-hoon corrected. Every moment, every smile, the way the light catches your skin, the sound of your laugh, all of it. Sentimental. Only for you. As they danced, Sung-min approached with a phone. Boss, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it can wait, Ji-hoon said without looking away from Ada. It's about Min Seo. That got his attention. What about him? He's been spotted in Busan. Looks like he's trying to form alliances with rival gangs. Should we... Let him, Ji-hoon said calmly. He's no longer my concern. Today, the only thing I care about is my wife. Wife. The word made Ada's heart skip. I like the sound of that. So do I. Ji-hoon pulled her closer. Mrs. Kang, I'm keeping Okonkwo as part of my name. Ada warned. I'd expect nothing less. Adaze Okonkwo Kang. Perfect. The reception lasted until dawn. Ada's relatives from Nigeria, aunts, uncles, cousins she'd reconnected with after her mother's death, danced with Ji-hoon's stern-faced lieutenants. The elders actually smiled. Sung-min got drunk and gave a rambling speech about the boss finally being human. It was chaotic and beautiful and everything Ada had never known she wanted. At 4 a.m, Ji-hoon and Ada finally escaped to their honeymoon suite in Jeju Island. Alone at last, Ji-hoon murmured, pulling Ada into his arms. Nervous, she teased. Terrified, he admitted. It's been so long, and I don't know if... Ada kissed him, slow and deep. Then we figure it out together. No pressure, no expectations, just us. And they did, slowly, carefully, learning each other's bodies, the way they'd learned each other's hearts. There were moments of awkwardness, moments of laughter, moments where Ji-hoon's hands shook and Ada guided them steady. But mostly, there was love, pure and overwhelming and healing. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Ji-hoon's head on Ada's chest, her fingers running through his hair. I thought I'd never feel this, he whispered. Never have this. You gave me everything. We gave each other everything, Ada corrected. That's how this works. 6 weeks later, Ada woke up feeling nauseous. Then the next day. And the next. She took the test on a Wednesday morning while Ji-hoon was in a meeting. 2 lines. Clear and unmistakable. Pregnant. Her hand went to her stomach, emotions crashing over her. Joy. Terror. Wonder. This was real. They'd created a life together. That evening, she found Ji-hoon in his office, reviewing contracts. I need to tell you something, she said. He looked up immediately, reading her expression. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but... She pulled out the test, holding it up. Surprise? For 5 long seconds, Ji-hoon just stared. Then he was up, crossing the room in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. We're... He couldn't finish the sentence. Pregnant, about 6 weeks. Ji-hoon dropped to his knees, pressing his forehead against her still flat stomach. His shoulders shook, and Ada realized he was crying. Hey, she said softly, running her fingers through his hair. What's wrong? Nothing. His voice was thick with emotion. Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect. He looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd die alone and cold and empty. And now I have you. And we're having a baby. And I can't believe this is real. Ada knelt down beside him, cupping his face. It's real. We're real. And we're going to be parents. I'm going to be a father, Ji-hoon whispered, wonder in his voice. The best father. I know it. That night, they lay in bed. Ji-hoon's hand splayed protectively over Ada's stomach. What if I mess this up? He asked quietly. What if I'm too cold, too damaged? What if I can't? You won't, Ada interrupted firmly. You'll be wonderful, because you know what it's like to feel alone and broken, and you'll never let our child feel that way. Our child. Ji-hoon tested the words. I like the sound of that. So do I. 7 months later, Ada went into labour at 3 a.m. Ji-hoon, the man who'd faced down rival gangs without flinching, completely panicked. Sung-min, get the car! No, wait! Call the doctor! No, both! Ada, breathe! Am I supposed to breathe? Why is everyone yelling? I'm the only one yelling. Ada pointed out between contractions. Because I'm in labour. Right, labour. Okay, I can handle this. He couldn't. By the time they reached the hospital, Ji-hoon was sweating more than Ada. 14 hours later, their daughter was born. Small, perfect, with her mother's dark skin and her father's sharp eyes. She's perfect, Ji-hoon whispered, holding her for the first time. His hands were shaking, but not from fear, from overwhelming love. What should we name her? Ada asked, exhausted but glowing. Amara, Ji-hoon said softly. It means grace in Igbo and immortal in Korean. He looked at Ada. She's our grace, our miracle, our proof that love can heal anything. Ada's eyes filled with tears. Amara Okonkwo Kang, perfect. As Ji-hoon sat beside Ada's hospital bed, their daughter sleeping peacefully in his arms, he thought about the journey that had led them here. The poison, the pain, the ice that had nearly consumed him, and the woman who'd thawed it all with nothing more than her touch, her courage, and her refusal to let him give up on himself. Thank you, he whispered to Ada. For what? For touching me that first day, for not running when you should have, for fighting for us when I was too scared to. He looked down at Amara, then back at Ada. For giving me a reason to feel again. Ada reached for his free hand, squeezing it. You would have found your way back eventually. Maybe, but it wouldn't have been as beautiful without you. 1 year later, Ji-hoon stood on the balcony of their new home, not the penthouse in Gangnam, but a house with a garden where Amara could play safely, watching the sunset over Seoul. Behind him, he heard Ada's laugh as she chased their daughter around the living room. Amara was walking now, babbling in a mix of Korean and English, her smile capable of making the most hardened of his lieutenants melt. Sungmin had told him last week, "Boss, you've gone soft." Ji-hoon had just smiled. Good, because he had gone soft in all the ways that mattered. He still ran the syndicate with efficiency and intelligence. He was still respected, still feared when necessary, but now he left work at 6 p.m. to have dinner with his family. He changed diapers. He sang lullabies in the middle of the night. He lived. What are you thinking about? Ada asked, sliding her arms around his waist from behind. How far we've come, how close I came to losing all of this. He turned in her arms. How grateful I am that you walked into my office that day. Best decision I ever made. Ada smiled up at him. Well, second best. What was the first? Choosing to stay, even when you tried to push me away, even when it was terrifying. I chose to stay and fight for us. Ji-hoon kissed her, soft and lingering. I love you, Adeze Okonkwo Kang. More than I thought it was possible to love anyone. I love you too, Ji-hoon, my ice king who learned to burn. From inside, Amara called out, Appa! Mama! They both smiled, heading back inside to their daughter, to the life they'd built together, to the love that had healed them both. And in that moment, with his wife's hand in his and his daughter's laughter filling the air, Kang Ji-hoon, the man who'd once believed he was incapable of feeling, felt everything. Joy, peace, gratitude, love, everything. The end. Thank you so much for watching this journey of love, redemption, and healing. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing stories, and drop a comment telling me what you thought. Which part made you cry? Which part made you angry? I want to hear it all. Share this video with someone who believes in second chances and the power of love. Until next time, remember, you're never too broken to be loved, and it's never too late to feel again.